And now I'm in Korea, so many of you are working at home or abroad. So we are now making a truly international meeting. Um, I'm very glad to meet you all today at GenCon Talk, which I remember was a great supporting community, actually for me and for many others at NU. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Zhanna Izekenova and Almira Tabaeva. Zhanna Izekenova is a PhD student in the Graduate School of Education, and she's a research assistant of GenCon. And she has been studying mothers in academia, gender, school leadership, equity, and shadow education. And Miss Almira Tabaeva has a master's degree with feminism, and she's also working at GenCon at Nazarbayev University. Especially, she's interested in education policy, social and gender issues. She's also in a research team at Kazakh National Women's Teacher Training University. Uh, they are presenting their paper titled on Equity for Mother Scholars, a qualitative systematic review of a thesis dissertation. Yeah. Are you ready, Almira and Zhanna?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm starting to share my screen. Can you see it?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sejin, for presenting us. So today we're gonna talk about our study called Equity for Mother Scholars, a qualitative systematic review of theses and dissertations. So the presentation outline is the following. First of all, we are gonna share and say more about contributors who participated in the research and some applications, some tools that has been used for this study. Then I'm going to present the rationale for the study, the literature that has been existed on this field of research, methodology, data collection, and stages of analysis. When Almira will share with you two sections of the findings, descriptive data and thematic analysis. And we'll finish with discussions, limitations, and further research. And our presentation will finish with Q&A, question and answer session from the audience. So contributors and tools that we used. So first of all, there are three collaborators in this research. Professor Anna Cohen-Miller. She is assistant professor at the Graduate School of Education, Nazarbayev University, and she's also co-founder of Gender of Scholars at Nazarbayev University, and other two contributors, me, myself, Almira, and me. As I think it was worth to mention as I was preparing for this presentation that the majority of time that we performed this study was during the pandemic. So, and it was, I think, interesting to mention that this study was performed by three researchers. So how do we collaborate? How do we communicate? So most of our communication was via WhatsApp group. You can see the screenshots and Zoom. And most of our writing and part of our analysis was in Google Drive. And for thematic analysis, we used the paid version of NViva. You can see also the small screenshot here. The rationale for this study. So the what does it mean to be the graduate mother scholars or graduate student mothers? Um, it means that you are involved in the studies during your master degree or PhD degree, and you have small dependents, small kids, or even like some others identify themselves like being pregnant during their graduate studies. So the graduate students' mothers constantly seek to balance and cover different demands, including family life, then studies, and really often their work. So their work, they have to provide their financial support for their families. Therefore, they have to work. And it's unfortunately nowadays they face with unsystematic supports or even without supports from their family members, from their institutions. There are no existing policies, unfortunately, in the government level or in institutional level. So this creates a condition when academic pipeline unfortunately leaks, especially for graduate student mothers. What does it mean? It means that some previous research performed by Main and other researchers and CALP in 2019 identified that without previously mentioned supports for graduate student mothers, it requires more years to complete their graduate degrees, or even sometimes they have to um, like leave their studies, and therefore it creates the condition then academic pipeline leaks. Another concept discussed by other researchers is higher demands in academia. So due to the nature and increasing competition, women with kids have to increasing constantly like pr prove that they're professionals, that they can publish. Therefore, this to meet these higher demands, they have to produce the same kind of products, including book chapters, publications, and to win grants at the same level as their male peers. So at the same time, the research have found that graduate student mothers faced with reduced mobility, parental duties, and financial instability. Plus, during the COVID-19, there are some recent research performed by Relly and Willie during this year. They found out that mothers like face publication decrease, not only like graduate student mothers, but other faculty including faculty mothers, and also another concept, another findings, what's made by these researchers found that family responsibilities are not distributed equally. And another rationale for this study, like personal one, three three of our researchers who have done this study have e each of us has two kids, either preschool age or school age. So this was the rationale for the study. About methodology. We decided to review the ProQuest, to use the ProQuest database, and we used in different combination the key terms: mother, motherhood, parent, parenthood, graduate scholar, academia, student, children. So we put in a search box two or three terms, so in different combinations, and we ended up with more than 700,000 theses or dissertations in a ProQuest. So we decided to employ Moyer 2019 Prisma flowchart designed by these researchers, and for the selection and to ease our process of selection. So in um, the screening process, we excluded the majority of these theses due to the inappropriate title or abstract, and we ended up with 53 dissertations. So we downloaded all of them, we read and we discussed it in communication, and we identified that 9 of them are not meeting the inclusion criteria. For instance, some of them were focusing on college mothers, students, or faculty. So overall, we have found that 44 dissertations meet our criteria. Data collection and stages of analysis. So I can share my reflection that it was very engaging and unique process for me because I now realized that we created the new knowledge. Nobody really have done it before. So we collected all 44, we read through it, and we discussed rigorously via Zoom, via WhatsApp, what work should we include, what exactly like parts we should analyze. For instance, the publication date, the discipline, the participants, how many participants these dissertations include. They include maybe father's perspectives or institutional perspectives, but the majority, of course, analyzed the mother's perspectives. Also, what theories they employed, and etc., etc. It was interesting for me that, for instance, identified that um, the kids, for instance, if the kids were from 0 to 6 years old, the mother scholars I concluded that it was more challenging to study to complete their graduate studies. But Almira will share more. And you can see here the in vivo word cloud produced by the application, by this tool. And you can see that we performed this word cloud. For instance, how many, the bigger the words, the more often it was used in the 44 dissertations. For instance, you can see the largest words are mothers, student, and women with apostrophes. So something related to the mother, to the student, to the women. And in the middle-sized word, you can see participative, studying, work timing. And in very little words, you can see conflict, challenging, culture, identity development. So all of these are speaking for us. And I'm gonna pass my word to the Almira, so she will continue with findings.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much, Zhanna, for starting the presentation and for the introduction. Now I will continue with the findings, the most important part, and the descriptive data. So, using a qualitative systematic review, this study offers insights to demonstrate how has this topic been examined from 1997 to 2020. So we narrowed the initial 700,000 to a total 44 texts. So across the text, the vast majority were the doctoral dissertations, with 41 of them out of 44, and 3 were master's degree theses. So we detailed descriptive data within the texts that include research design, research methods and data collection, theoretical framework, and about the participants, about their number and background, and geographic location of the data collection. So the research methods that was used throughout the texts was mostly in-depth interviews. Around 33 of them have used that. And then the others were like questionnaires, discourse analysis, mapping, and some have used drawing as well. So across the thesis and dissertations, there haven't been an explicit theoretical framework. So the theoretical framework of the study was mainly done by feminist perspective and from educational discipline. So like educational leadership and interdisciplinary learning and teaching, and others represented psychology, sociology, family, and women's studies disciplines as well. So we talk about the participants, while the vast majority of the participants have centered on qualitative studies, approximately 38 of them, with fewer than 12 participants. Only 2 centered on autoethnography, exploring the personal experiences of graduate students, and only 4 have used the quantitative studies with participants from 170 to 4,000. So within this set, there was a limited emphasis on participants' background, like marital status, racial and ethnic background. But there was one exception. Al-Hajjuj in 2015 explored about Saudi female women scholars, but studying in the United States institutions. So if we talk about geographic locations, as Zhanna has already mentioned, the database of ProQuest was mainly used in the United States, right? So obviously the vast majority of data was collected in the US territory, but there was some handful exceptions. So for example, one dissertation was done in Kenya by Musili, that was on conflicts of women between their various roles. And one dissertation was done by Pamant. They collected the data across the Pacific Rim. And lastly, 4 theses and dissertations were conducted in Canada. So if you show the next slide, I will talk about the cumulative growth of dissertations. As we have already mentioned, the interest in this topic have started in 1997, and there has been an increasing interest in the topic, but unstable. If there was only one dissertation on the topic of graduate student mothers in 1997, there was 8 theses and dissertations in 2016 and only 1 in 2019. So one thing has to be taken into consideration, that this is within the ProQuest thesis and dissertation database. So the next slide shows about the findings and thematic analysis. We have just talked about descriptive analysis. Now this is a thematic analysis. So in addition to understanding the broad research questions about how the topic have been explored, we also examined what kind of solutions can be used to address the persistent issues of equity in higher education for mother scholars in academia. So we individually and collectively examine the answer to this question. And by identifying common phrases and repeated ideas, we found three emergent themes as a persistent issue, speaking to these issues. So they are navigating challenges internally and externally, negotiating identity, and developing strategies to survive in academic contexts. So the most common theme that across the thesis and dissertations was the concept of navigating challenges, so internally and externally. So the idea of internal factor was about balancing multiple roles of being mother and a student. All other challenges also explain the internal factors such as concern and lack of finance, and another participants spoke to the issues of time. And that's relevant to me as well, because I rarely suffer from a limited of time. And while a balance of finance and time are considered as significant factors, many other researchers have mentioned about social and emotional considerations. And others have talked about threats to well-being and social isolation and loneliness. So these factors like balancing multiple roles, lack of time, lack of finance, and threats to well-being, social isolation, and loneliness, they are internal factors. So in addition to internal factors, there are external factors that relate to gender and culture. For example, in Chung's dissertation in 2015, I guess, she is from Chinese heritage and culture. She noted that the participants expressed the pressure not only from home, but from host culture as well. So it means that both Western and Asian culture expect women to be super moms, no matter whether you are studying or whether you are a mother or staying at home. So, which often results in opting out one from the main positions like studying or working. So, um, uh, yet external factors can be related to directly gender and culture, and they can also be from various levels within the post-secondary education, like from faculty and from administrative units and institutional policies. So after internal and external factors on balancing multiple rules that mother scholars face, there comes the next most frequent used challenge, negotiation of identity. That's about being at one time a student, at another a mother. So it shows it includes the emphasis on experiences of guilt for um, being at home, guilt for not spending sufficient time with children, guilt for not progressing as quickly as peers. And the researchers also noted about role overload, like a feeling of doubt, anger, frustration, fear, and anxiety. So, so to overcome these barriers, to overcome these challenges and the feelings of imperfection and guilt, the graduate student mothers have developed the strategies to survive within the academic contexts. So the third theme includes three sub-themes like support systems, communication, and planning. Support systems included emotional, tangible, intangible support from partners, first of all, which is most important, and family members and friends, and also other individuals in higher education. And the second sub-theme was about communication. This is related to be beneficial practice or tool facilitating building social network and staying connected and to have meetings and social networks. So the third subtheme was about planning, which is also very important because it addresses a key aspect within support system for graduate student mothers, like the planning and harmonizing of deadlines, meetings, and house chores provided potentially beneficial systems for graduate student mothers in academia. So the next slide discusses the limitations and further research and recommendations for further research. So there have been some proposed solutions for improving equity in post-secondary education that was to include systematic institutional policies. So what are systematic institutional policies? They are parental leave policies, part-time options, flexible funding, and health insurance coverage, or I can add from myself that is about daycare, like affordable daycare. So while doing this research, we saw with other members of the team that there still needs some changes to be done, because we have found out that the interest has been started in 1997 and a lot has been done, but still we need some changes. And when we saw that there needs to be some recommendations for further research. They are like to include from intersectional identities and to include the mothers who are single parents, who are non-CIS gendered students, and who are from varied ethnic and racial background. And of course, there should be some other areas outside the United States. So this has been the proposed further recommendations for the further research. So
Thank you, Almira. So, the floor is open for questions, maybe, and we will try to answer. Maybe I will stop sharing the screen so
okay.
everyone can see. So, do we have any questions? Yes, Professor Nourin.
So, thank you very much to both of you and Anna for this very interesting paper. I wondered what was your theoretical framework that guided the study, and what were the specific research questions which drove the search of the literature, and what inclusion and exclusion criteria you used to select or exclude studies. I'll stop here. Maybe we'll see if I have time, I might ask something else.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
I can talk about theoretical framework. As I have mentioned, there was not an explicit theoretical framework. So, but the major theoretical framework that was used was a feminist perspective. So, and the major discipline was education, and the criteria for choosing, like including and excluding, was the fact that we focused on only mothers who have been studying and being a mother at the same time. So they were at the first, they were like fathers as well, and they were those who were studying, working, and at the same time being a mother, but we had to exclude them because that was another issue, like faculty members. So we focused only on mothers who are studying and being a mother at the young like age with the young kids. So the other answer about literature review, Zhanna, you can answer, right?
Yes, so we integrated two theories, cultural and feminist. So hope this will answer. But the paper is still under a revision, so we are still like in the process of publishing. And answering the last question about research question. So the research question was twofold. First of all, we would like to understand how the topic has been examined in the dissertation throughout this period over 20 years. And the second question, to identify steps of like persistent issues of equity for women in higher education.
Thank you.
There is a question asked through the chat. Dr. Dushong Shamatov.
Yes, I can read the question. May I also ask if the use of words made a difference? What if some research studies didn't use common phrases that you had used to identify physicists? Do you think that you may have missed those studies? Yes, this is a very good question. Almira, do you want to talk, or I can?
So, and at first, even I asked the other professors that there might be another works that we have to consider in our research, but our focus was on solely on dissertation, ProQuest dissertation thesis and dissertation. So we haven't like taken from other databases. So we were only focusing on this specific topic, graduate student mothers, and the only ProQuest database.
Yes, and from my side, I can say that this research has been going on through over 1 year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I joined this project this year, at the beginning of this year. So I think it was very rigorous project because we yes because we search so free of participant, free of researchers have done this like different combination, use this different combination of words in a ProQuest database. So we search every little, like revised every little work, and we go beyond definitely, not just looking at the title and abstract, but we were looking like simultaneously for updates and different works. So, and we used, revised other studies, systematic literature review studies of dissertations who used ProQuest database, and they employed different strategies, but we decided to employ Prisma flowchart, and so this definitely increased the eligibility of our study. Yes, and also 3 of us revised these works. So, yeah.
Yeah, to add something, it was started last year in August, in 2019. I started with Professor Anna Cohen-Miller, and Zhanna also joined this year. And for reliability, we have done at first it separately, and then we sat together and we just made the comparison, right? Was my voice on?
Yeah. Yes, Professor
Okay.
Maureen. And another question.
I can ask if there is nobody else is asking.
Sure, sure.
Okay. So,
oh, yeah.
You know, I wondered
Oh, please go on. Yeah, sorry.
So in terms of the finding, Zhanna and Almira, I wondered how mother scholars were treated, you know, I get of course, you didn't have enough time to go into a lot of intersectionality, but Mother Scholars is not a homogeneous group. Just by being a woman and a mother, they might have some similar experiences, similar challenges, but women are different in a range of ways, some of which you mentioned, what about a single parent mother? What about lower working class mother? What about women of color? As a mother scholar myself, I know how your circumstances can be very different depending on whether or not you have a husband or the extent to which the husband is supportive, whether or not you have extended family networks on whom you can draw upon for care and support. So I wondered within the findings to what extent this notion of being a mother scholar was problematized so that the term itself was deconstructed and findings were more nuanced rather than belonging to a very homogeneous category of mother scholar.
So I can answer, right, Zhanna?
Yes.
Unfortunately, there was a limited emphasis on the ethnic and racial background of participants, and that was like limitations. And we have given some further recommendations that were written by other researchers as well. So that was to include mothers who are single parents, who are non-CIS gendered, who are like other from racial and ethnic background, and who are from other US territories. So there were some like relevant dissertations that we wanted to include, but the focus of those like about Black mothers were a little bit different rather than ours. That's why we had to exclude, but there hasn't been a specific dissertation about like Black mothers or single parents on this topic. So this is put as a recommendation for further research.
So I was thinking more in terms of within those studies, was, the intersectionality aspect taken into account or not, or just studies treated mother scholar without looking at the impact of social class on women's experiences of being a graduate student without simultaneously taking into account a range of other markers of identity. People are not just women or just mother. There are other things which make a lot of difference in terms of our experiences and opportunities. So within the studies that you selected and you reviewed, was there anything that looked at this through an intersectional lens, or just, women were treated as a homogeneous group?
So I can take this question. So the answer is yes. There was definitely some cases, as we know that in the U.S. context there are a lot of international students coming from different backgrounds, including. So in our dissertations we saw some. It was I think. Phenomenological self-study. So the student study herself. So it was interesting perspective. She came from Asian background. And she have done this research her process of becoming a PhD student, and it was so interesting. And also some students from Arabic countries and I think African also. So therefore we decided to employ as a second theoretical, like to add to our theoretical framework the cultural theory as well. So we can definitely see that the concept of mother scholars was deconstructed, and uh, we tracked with different perspectives, and sometimes the pregnant women identify themselves as a mother. So it's not only being like with kids, but also when you became pregnant, you become like feeling, and your identity shifted, and you um, identify yourself as being mother. So definitely the diverse concept, it opened up, and it's created like different perspectives, can be look at different perspectives, including cultural, including different stages of motherhood, and etc. Yes, it was interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other
Uh,
questions? Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to ask you some questions. If there are no question from others. Well, first of the questions I want to ask is there any particular reason you focus on thesis and dissertation only rather than the whole papers, publications? Maybe you mentioned this, I missed it, but just the rationalizing this part will be very important to support your paper. And secondly, uh, well, I'm just curious whether you found any interesting pattern from the thesis and dissertation, which are probably published mostly in other countries and in the United States. So maybe you may expect some different pattern in Central Asian context. Well, in my reflecting my experience in Kazakhstan, I found in Kazakhstan are women in the age of 20s, 30s who are pregnant or who have children. They look very confident actually compared to single women, which was very interesting to me from a culture where women with children are despised because we have the conception that work and childcare cannot go together. If you want to have a child, then quit your job. So for me, it was quite interesting finding in Kazakhstan. So maybe I was wrong. So I want to ask you if you found any interesting pattern from other countries that seems not true in Kazakhstan, or something very similar in Central Asian context too. Yeah, these are my questions.
Okay, I can answer one first question. Almira, you can answer the second one. Okay, answering your first question is very good question actually, because we have this comment from revisers of our paper. Yes, answering your question, we decided to focus only on dissertations or thesis because they not on published papers, because this is original work that have been produced by graduate students. So throughout 2, 3 or 4 or even like plus years. So so we tracked the process and we decided to focus on the dissertations only. So this is unique pieces of works that have been understudied. So we also like back up and say that in our research that we decided to focus on, there are a lot of papers published on Motherscholars, but unfortunately the dissertations are not studied before systematically. So we decided to focus on this. Yeah.
And can you hear me?
Yeah.
So regarding the second question, yes, it was very interesting for me as well. Whether there are another like sources for graduate student mothers, we have searched, but on ProQuest we haven't found. But not on ProQuest, but on another database, we found the similar dissertation made by Ukrainian researcher, but that wasn't on ProQuest, but that was quite interesting. That was also about the challenges that mother scholars face. And there was one work from Indian researcher, but that was kind of article. So about regarding the Central Asian, that is in my plan because I'm planning to apply for PhD as I come from Uzbekistan, where from a sedentary life and Kazakhs living in Kazakhstan where women have nomadic life. There are big differences between these Kazakh and Uzbek women. So I'm intended to do such a comparative study, like comparing the graduate student mothers in Kazakhstan and in Uzbekistan. Then after maybe a few years, there will be a result for Central Asian content.
All right, yeah. Thank you very much, Ms. Almira Tabaeva, Ms. Zhanna Izekenova. So if you do not have any question anymore, then we are gonna just call it a day today, this meeting. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you so much for moderating our talk. So,
Thank you, both of you.
Thank you
And send
for
the
all the
list of the
participants.
44 final thesis. Maybe it can be useful for our students.
yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
So we
Thank
can
you.
finish now, yes?
Yeah, yeah. See you in the next meeting. Bye-bye.
Bye.